My brother's son said, "You just throws money around because no one actually loves her." My dad laughed until he cried. I just picked up my bag, thanked my grandma for dinner and left. By morning the group chat was exploding. Every card they used had been declined. I knew the night was going to go sideways when my brother's son, 11 years old, braces, no filter, turned to his mom and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You just throws money around because no one actually loves her." My dad started laughing so hard he had to take off his glasses. Full-on wheezing, cheeks red, eyes watering. My mom barely reacted. My brother gave the kid a high five. And his wife. She sipped her wine like someone had just commented on the weather. I didn't say a word. Just reached for my bag, stood up and said thank you to my grandma. That was it. No scene, no comeback, no dramatic exit. Just quiet and final. I walked out of that birthday dinner and didn't even make it to my car before the shaking started in my hands. I'd paid for the entire thing. The restaurant. The wine. The cake my grandma said she liked from that bakery in Midtown. I'd even ordered an Uber for my mom because she didn't want to drive in the dark. And still that was what they thought of me. Someone to use. Someone to mock. I drove home in silence, opened a bottle of wine and stayed up until 2. Not crying, not angry. Just thinking. Replaying every birthday, every holiday, every random Tuesday when one of them needed something. It was like looking back on a series of favors that somehow became expected. Titled. Normal. By morning the group chat was on fire. My brother. Hey, is the Amex down? Tried to get gas. My mom. My internet's off? My dad. You pay the damn bills late again? They were already blaming me, which was the funny part. Like I was their personal assistant who'd forgotten to do their errands. What I'd actually done was simple. I logged into all the accounts I'd been quietly paying for cell phone lines, 2 utilities, 1 credit card with constant emergencies, and I shut it all down. Changed passwords. Removed my cards. Cancelled autopay. If they noticed, they'd have to figure it out themselves. I wasn't explaining anything. I didn't even answer the group chat. I let them spiral. Sent one emoji, woman shrugging. And then I turned off my notifications. That afternoon my mom called 4 times in a row. I didn't pick up. Then came my brother. Then his wife. My dad texted me directly. You having a breakdown or something? No, I wasn't. I was having a breakthrough. It had been years of me covering for all of them because I didn't have a husband or kids, or anything else they seemed to think counted as real responsibility. I had money, so they figured it was mine to give. I didn't make as much noise about my problems, so they assumed I didn't have any. They took advantage because I let them. And that was the truth I didn't want to admit. But that night changed everything. They made a joke out of me in front of my grandmother in a restaurant I paid for, and not one of them thought it was wrong. Not even for a second. So the next day I decided it wasn't my problem anymore. I stopped answering favors. My mom asked if I could swing by and bring her a few groceries. I said I was busy. My brother texted if I could help with a surprise bill. I left him on read. His wife wanted me to watch the kids, just for an hour while she got her nails done. I didn't even respond. It was slow at first. Confusion. Then irritation. Then panic. By the 3rd day they were losing it. And I hadn't even said the word no. Not yet. By Friday morning the group chat had shifted from jokes and confusion to full-on panic. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. They were unraveling all on their own. At 9:12 a.m. my brother sent, "So you're just done helping your family now? Cool." At 9:20 his wife added, "We have kids, Rachel." At 9:48 my mom texted, "Call me. This is getting ridiculous." I didn't. I went to Pilates, got a smoothie, ran errands I'd been putting off for weeks. I was finally living like I wasn't their unpaid assistant, their walking backup plan, their emergency fund. And it was quiet. Almost too quiet. Then my grandma texted. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was. I just said I was tired of paying for things I never agreed to and tired of being disrespected while doing it. She responded with just 3 words. Good. About time. I stared at that message for a long time. Because if there was one person in the world I never expected to be on my side, it was her. She's old school. Raised 5 kids, survived 3 recessions and still makes her own jam. She's also the one who used to tell me to be patient with them, their family. Not anymore apparently. On Saturday my mom showed up at my apartment. No call, no warning. Just stood downstairs buzzing the intercom like I owed her something. When I answered she waved like she was just stopping by. Then she said, "I need the Safeway card." "I'm here already." I said, "Not anymore." He buzzed again. And again. Then she texted, "Well, after all I've done for you." I turned off my phone. An hour later I got a missed call from my dad. Then 2 more from my brother. My brother's wife sent a long paragraph about how this was hurting the kids. How they missed me. How this wasn't like me. But it was like me. This was who I should have been all along. By Sunday, my brother sent a voice note. I didn't listen. Then a screenshot of their Hulu account logged out. He followed it with, "You changed the password?" I texted back, "No. I canceled it." He replied with a picture of the kids sitting on the couch with the TV off and a dramatic caption. "I hope you're happy." And you know what? I kind of was. It was the first time I could breathe. I didn't have to check my bank account 5 times a week because someone was borrowing again. I didn't have to make up excuses for why I couldn't meet friends or take a weekend trip because someone's car broke down and they just needed a bit to get by. That entire week, I didn't send a single transfer, make a single call, or run a single errand for any of them. And one by one they were falling apart. My mom's electricity got shut off by Tuesday. She texted, "I know you're mad, but we can't live like this. Please just pay it just this once." I didn't answer. Wednesday my brother sent, "Can you just do one payment for the car? They're gonna repo it." I told him to talk to Dad. Dad told me, "You're proving some kind of point, but you're hurting your own family." Maybe I was. But what they never understood was that I'd been hurting for years. Quietly. Every time I was told I didn't understand real life, because I didn't have kids. Every time they joked about how I just threw money around because I was single and had nothing else going on. Every time I saved them and they made me feel small for it. But now the game was over. And just as I expected, when the money stopped, their fake affection did too. But what they didn't expect was the person who was about to speak up next. Because apparently Grandma had her own thoughts. And for the first time in my life, she wasn't going to keep them to herself. I think it really hit them when the school called. Well, technically the school emailed me and CC'd my brother and his wife. It was a polite but pointed message about how my nephew wouldn't be able to attend the overnight field trip unless the $72 fee was paid by Friday morning. There was even a line that said, "We appreciate your continued support of the Jenkins family." I sat there for a moment reading that sentence over and over. I hadn't agreed to support the Jenkins family. No one had asked. They just handed it over like I was some kind of sponsor. Like a walking nonprofit. That same afternoon my brother's wife messaged me. "Hey, did you see the email from the school? Can you take care of it real quick?" No question mark. No thank you. Just a soft demand wrapped in casual phrasing. I answered, "Not my job." She waited 5 minutes before texting back. "Wow." Then my brother jumped in. "It's $70, Rach. You blow that on wine." He wasn't wrong. But the difference was I chose the wine. I didn't respond. By now I knew their rhythm. First came the request, then came the guilt, then came the anger. What I wasn't prepared for was what came next. My mom called that night. I didn't answer. So she texted, "We've been talking. We think you need help. Maybe we can all get together this weekend? Talk things through." She made it sound like I was the one who had snapped. Like I had some emotional break and decided to cut off the people who loved me. But I hadn't snapped. I had woken up. And waking up meant realizing I didn't need to talk things through. I'd spent years talking, pleading, explaining, trying to get them to understand how exhausting it was to be the default everything. They never listened. Why would now be different? I ignored the message. I turned off my phone, poured a glass of that expensive wine, and watched a movie I'd been meaning to see for months. I ordered Thai. I lit a candle. And for a full evening I existed in peace. Until the next morning. 6 missed calls from my dad. 3 from my mom. A long, bitter message from my brother's wife that ended with, "Congratulations. The kids are crying." And then, buried between the notifications, was a message from my grandmother. It simply said, "Call me when you can." I told them the truth. I called immediately. She picked up after 2 rings and didn't even say hello. "Rachel, I've never seen your mother look so stupid." Actually laughed. For real. Out loud. The sound surprised me. She said my mom had come over to complain. Told her how I was acting crazy. How I'd abandoned the family. How I was hurting the kids. My brother had chimed in about how I'd always had a superiority complex. And my dad apparently sat there nodding like he'd never once needed help with rent last year. So Grandma said she let them have it. She told them they were leeches. She told them I had supported this family more than all 3 of them combined. She told them I didn't owe anyone a cent. And then she told them to get the hell out of her house. I couldn't speak. I was sitting there on my couch, half wrapped in a blanket, mouth slightly open. Because this was the woman who used to scold me for not calling my mom back fast enough. The one who told me family sticks together, every time I wanted to draw a line. But something had shifted. Not just in me, in her too. "You were never the problem, Rachel," she said. "You were just the easiest one to lean on." That line hit me like a punch. For years I had been measuring myself by how much I could carry. How many favors? How many bills? How many guilt trips? And every time I thought about saying no, I reminded myself that this is just what you do when you love people. But love had nothing to do with it. And Grandma saw it now too. She told me they left her house in silence. No yelling. No arguing. Just embarrassment. My mom had actually cried, not because she was hurt, but because she'd been called out by the one person she never expected to turn on her. Then Grandma said something that made my stomach drop. Your mother said maybe you need therapy. I told her maybe she needs a job. I couldn't breathe. I sat there in stunned silence, phone against my cheek, heart pounding. Because for the first time in my life, someone in that family stood up for me. And it wasn't because they needed something. It was because they finally saw it too. The silence after that was different. Not the cold, manipulative silence they used to punish me before. This was the silence of people regrouping. And I knew they weren't done yet. They couldn't survive long without me. And part of me wondered how far they'd go to try and get me back. The quiet lasted 3 days. No calls. No texts. No emails. Not even a passive-aggressive meme in the group chat. I almost thought it was over. That maybe Grandma's speech finally knocked some sense into them. Then on Wednesday morning I walked out of my apartment and found my mom standing next to my car. She had a muffin in one hand and a Starbucks cup in the other, like she was just dropping by for a casual visit. I froze. She smiled, said she just happened to be in the area and thought we could talk. I asked how she got through the gate. She pointed behind her. My brother was parked across the street, windows down, watching us like he was the getaway driver. His wife was in the passenger seat. Even the kids were in the back looking bored and holding iPads. It wasn't a visit. It was an ambush. She launched straight into it. Said she forgave me. Said she understood I was overwhelmed and didn't mean to hurt anyone. Said maybe I needed to take a step back, sure, but completely abandoning the people who love you wasn't the answer. I told her I had a meeting and started to get into my car. Then she pulled out the envelope. It was thick. I glanced at it, then back at her. She said it was a bill from her lawyer. She was looking into whether I had any legal obligation to keep supporting her since she relied on me financially. I stared at her, stunned. I honestly thought she was joking. She wasn't. She said she hadn't filed anything yet, but she just wanted me to understand the situation clearly. Then she placed the envelope on my windshield and walked back to my brother's car like she just handed me a wedding invitation. I sat there in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel for a solid minute before I finally exhaled. This wasn't just about guilt anymore. They were panicking. They were willing to drag me through lawyers, pretend to play victim, weaponize whatever scraps of legality they thought they had. But they didn't realize something important. They'd never put anything in writing. Not once. Every favor, every bill, every transfer. It was all verbal, all casual, all based on me being the good daughter. The responsible one. The rich auntie with a soft spot. And now they were trying to build a case on a foundation they'd never bothered to make real. That night I scanned the lawyer's bill. It was typed in Comic Sans. I'm not even kidding. 1 page, no letterhead, no signature. It looked like something printed from a legal advice blog in 2007. I almost laughed. Then I didn't. Because it wasn't funny. It was desperate. And desperation is dangerous. The next day I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Voicemail said it was someone from a local church I hadn't attended since high school. Apparently my mother had contacted them, said I was in crisis, and suggested they reach out to offer prayer support. I blocked the number. Then I went to check my social media. That's when I saw it. A post from my brother's wife. A long, heartfelt message about how some people in the family turn their back on you when you need them most. How money changes people. How children should never suffer because adults can't work through their issues. She didn't tag me, but she didn't need to. Mutuals flooded the comments with hearts and prayers. A few of them even messaged me directly asking if I was okay, if I was really cutting off the kids. I ignored them. They were trying to paint me as unstable, as selfish, as cruel. But they weren't ready for what came next. Because that night I got another call. It was my grandmother. She said, "Rachel, I'm giving you the house." I blinked. "What house?" "Mine," she said. "I had the paperwork drawn up this morning. They're not getting a damn thing." I didn't know what to say. She told me she'd seen enough. That she was tired of her money being sucked dry the same way mine had been. That if they were going to weaponize family, she'd remind them where the power really was. I just sat there on the couch, phone to my ear, mouth open. She said, "They think they're smart. Let them lawyer up. Let them beg and cry and post their little stories. They forgot who taught them how to fight." And just like that, everything changed. Because now it wasn't just me drawing a line. It was her too. And the people who thought they could guilt their way back into control were about to learn what it feels like when the person holding everything together decides to stop holding back. By the weekend the tone changed. The group chat had been dead silent for days. Then out of nowhere it started buzzing again. Not with demands or accusations but soft attempts at reconciliation. Half-hearted peace offerings wrapped in vague concern. My brother, Maybe we should all get together. Just talk. Clear the air. My mom, I know you're going through something. I want to be there for you. We all do. My brother's wife, I just wish we could go back to how it used to be. You were always the glue ratch. It was subtle, but I knew exactly what had happened. They'd found out about the house. I hadn't told them. I hadn't told anyone actually. But someone always talks. Maybe someone at the county clerk's office mentioned it. Maybe they saw my grandmother at the lawyer's. Or maybe one of them finally noticed how quiet she had gone too. Either way they knew. And they were scared. Not of losing the house, they were never counting on it like that. They were scared of what the house represented. Control. Influence. Leverage. The idea that grandma would leave something that substantial to me. The single one, the one without kids, the one they joked had nothing else going on, was a shift they weren't prepared for. It meant I mattered more than they thought. That night my dad called. Twice. When I didn't answer he texted, "Let's talk." I think we all said things we didn't mean. But I remembered exactly what he'd said. That laugh when my nephew made that comment about no one loving me. The fact that he didn't defend me, didn't stop the joke, didn't even hesitate before wiping tears from his eyes like it was the funniest thing in the world. They meant every word. I didn't respond. The next day I drove out to Grandma's. I hadn't seen her in person since she told me about the house. When I got there she was in the backyard trimming her rose bushes with a small pair of dull shears. She looked calm, but I could tell she was waiting for me. She handed me a thick folder. Deed, lawyer letters, copies of everything. All signed. All filed. Final. Then she said, "They've taken enough from us. Let them take care of themselves now." I asked if she was sure. If she really wanted to do this. She looked at me like I'd asked if she was sure the sky was blue. "They came to me last night," she said. "All of them. First your brother. Then your mom. Even that wife of his. They all wanted to apologize. They all wanted to talk about healing." Then she laughed, short and sharp. "You know what they really wanted? To know if it was true. If I'd really left the house to you." They danced around it for a while, but eventually they all asked. I sat down. "What did you say?" She wiped her hands on a dish towel and said, "I told them yes. And that they should be grateful I didn't take more from them." She told me. They stood there stunned. No yelling. No bargaining. Just quiet, stunned silence. Like someone had finally unplugged the show they were used to performing for. "Your mother actually had the nerve to cry," she said. "Said she was just trying her best." I raised my eyebrows. I told her she hadn't tried anything but your patience for years. That stopped me. I didn't even know what to say. This woman, my grandmother, the same one who once told me I should be more forgiving because family's all we have, had just torched the very structure she'd spent decades upholding. And she didn't regret it. She said she'd watched them use me. Seen it growing over the years like mold creeping along the corners of a wall. She admitted she'd enabled it too. That she thought maybe I didn't mind. That I was stronger and could handle it. But then she saw what they did at that dinner. Heard the way they laughed. Watched how no one, not a single one of them, flinched when that boy said I had no one because no one loved me. That was the last straw, she said. Then she looked me dead in the eyes. "They don't deserve you. And they won't get another inch." I left with the folder in my hand and a knot in my chest. It wasn't guilt, not anymore. It was something else. A strange weight shifting off of me, being replaced by space I hadn't had in years. That night my mom showed up at my apartment. I didn't know how she got in. Probably followed someone else through the gate. She knocked, holding a pie she clearly didn't bake. She said she just wanted to talk. Said she missed me. Said the family wasn't the same without me. I let her talk. Then I asked her one thing. If I'd lost everything tomorrow, would you still come around? She didn't answer. Her eyes shifted. Her smile dropped just for a second. That was enough. I told her I wished her well. I told her I loved her, but I wasn't responsible for her anymore. And then I asked her to leave. She put the pie on the counter and walked out without saying another word. And after that, nothing. No more messages. No more calls. Just silence. But this time it wasn't the silence of people regrouping. It was the silence of people finally accepting they'd lost. And it was the first time in my life that the silence felt like peace. It's been 3.5 weeks. No texts. No guilt-laced voicemails. No random money requests disguised as just checking in. Nothing. Peace. And it feels strange. Not in a bad way. More like walking into your house after a storm and realizing everything's still standing, but it's quieter now. The air is still. The weight is gone, but you're not used to standing without it. I've been sleeping better. Cooking for myself. Taking walks without checking my phone. I didn't realize how much of my brain had been occupied by everyone else's chaos. How much of my life had become a reaction to theirs. And somewhere in the middle of all that quiet, I did something I never thought I'd actually do. I opened that dating app. The same one I downloaded last summer and never used. I'd always tell myself I was too busy, or dating was too exhausting, or I wasn't the type to meet someone online. But the truth was I didn't have space. Not emotionally. Not mentally. I'd been too drained keeping everyone else afloat. Now I finally had room. His name's Jordan. He's 34, originally from Boulder, works as a freelance travel photographer. The first thing he messaged me was, "Hot take. People who say, let's just do drinks, don't actually want to get to know you." I laughed. We talked for hours. No weird flexing. No oversharing. No fake deep questions meant to impress me. He just asked what I liked. What I didn't. What makes me uncomfortable. What makes me laugh. When I told him I hadn't dated in a while because of family stuff, he didn't dig. He just nodded and said that makes sense. We met up for coffee at a little spot downtown. The kind of place that serves drinks in mismatched mugs and plays music from the 70s. We sat outside for 2 hours talking about horror movies and our worst first jobs. I forgot I was supposed to be on a date. It just felt like talking to someone I already knew. Then came dinner. A week later, a concert. Then an impromptu trip to a drive-in movie. He brought snacks. I brought a blanket. And halfway through the film he turned to me and asked what I actually wanted. Not in life. Not 5 years from now. Just, in that moment, I told him the truth. I want a life that doesn't hurt to carry. He didn't say anything poetic. He just reached for my hand and held it for the rest of the movie. Back home, Grandma's doing better than I've ever seen her. She told me last week she's thinking about repainting the guest room. That maybe she'll take a trip. She even started hinting about dating again herself. I told her if she downloads Tinder, I'm uninstalling the internet in her house. We laughed about it for a long time. As for the rest of them, my mom, my brother, his wife, my dad, they've stayed quiet. I don't know if it's real acceptance or just temporary defeat. But I'm not checking in to find out. If they want to be in my life someday, they can come as people. Not as problems. The deed to the house came in the mail last Thursday. It had my name on it right there in black and white. I stared at it for a long time, not because I needed to confirm it, but because it felt like the first real thing anyone in my family had ever given me without conditions. It wasn't just property. It was proof. Proof that I mattered. That I wasn't just useful. That I could draw a line and survive what happened after. And now for the first time I'm not bracing for the next ask. I'm not preloading apologies or explanations. I'm just existing. Free. Jordan texted me this morning asking if I'd want to take a short weekend trip in January. Somewhere cold, quiet, scenic. He said he knows a little cabin up north with no service and a fireplace. Normally I'd hesitate. I'd worry about everything I might be missing. What someone else might need from me. But this time, I said yes. Because the people who used to only reach for me when they were drowning are finally out of reach. And the people who want to know me, really know me, are meeting me on solid ground.